All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what we're getting into today. What we're looking at right now inside this corner, and I know there's a gap in the corner. We're not going to worry about that right this second. We're going to address that as time goes on here. But we want to address it, we have to make sure that we've got dog ears, what I call them, cutting off the corners. This is a good example of a dog ear, as well as if you look inside the box. You can see that the hems have been dog-eared. I'd like to provide a brief overview of starting a sketch and selecting planes. This section is just for demonstration. You do not have to perform these operations. Is when we start a sketch, and we start a sketch in a specific plane. Right now, barber check's running right through the middle of that box, and that word barber check can move left, right, up, down, anywhere across that plane. It just can't move in depth to the front. It can't move to the front of the box. It can't move to the back of the box. It can't move anywhere. It's always going to stay in the middle of that box. So every time you start a sketch, the blue input window that pops up for a sketch or rectangle that's blue until you provide it an input, that rectangle, which asks for a sketch plane, when you click a front, top, or right plane, it fills it in, and that's where all your sketch work is going. But remember that your plane could also include a face of any feature. So it could be the face of the box that you're sketching on. And you just need to be aware. And most times it doesn't really matter a whole lot. You can make all the planes work, or the sketches, you can even move sketches to a different plane. But you just need to pay attention to what a plane is and how you can use that to your advantage. Here I'll sketch on the face of the box. I start a sketch and I select the side of my box. This is just gonna stay in the same plane. Here it kind of looks like it's moving. It may look like it's moving in depth, but remember that could just be the perspective you're looking at it. When you change perspective here, you'll see we can't move it that way. We're always going to be looking at that end. When you're sketching on a plane, there's a third dimension that's always excluded from you being able to move the sketch along that third dimension. I'm actually just going to turn on isometric. If you didn't know that was a feature, go to that dice and then click the drop down, and you can see that isometric perspective there. I'm going to zoom into this corner, and I'm going to click that hem, the face of that hem facing the inside of the box, and start a sketch on that face. That sketch window that pops up, it has that blue input rectangle until you fill it and it turns white. Well, we fill it with face of end wall hem. And now any line we draw, we've turned on our line tool, any line we draw is going to be coplanar with that face of the inside hem. Zoom in on that corner and make sure the corner is selected before you click, so you should see like the gold box or the gold point highlighted. And same with your next click. So you click and release for a line, slide slide your mouse over, and click and release once you know you're on the bottom of the hem, not off the hem. Head up to the upper corner. You don't want to be past where the arc starts, but right where the arc for that fold starts, you're going to click and release on that point as well. And then come down and click and release on the starting point. And what you end up with is a mini triangle with 2 black lines and 1 blue line. And how did the other 2 lines get black? Well, we gave it rules by hovering over those gold highlighted things that locked in certain rules that those lines had to follow, which gave us a fully defined 2 black lines. And now we have this blue line that we're going to put an angular constraint dimension on. You're going to turn on your dimension, click and release that line, scoot over, click and release the bottom line, and slide out in different directions to experiment, and you'll see that you get an angular dimension. To get an angular dimension, you have to have two items selected. So those are the two, the bottom and then the actual hypotenuse, you could say, of the triangle. And I'm going to set that to 45 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and extrude. So with the sketch window still open, I'm going to hit extrude. I'm going to make sure the main header menu says solid, not surface. The next menu says remove, not new, add, or intersect. And in my input rectangle, I'm going to select that triangle that I sketched. So you can select that right in the model space by clicking the triangle, or you can select it from your feature tree. And underneath that selection is another drop-down menu that asks you what type of extrude you want to do, blind, symmetric, up to entity, and different things. We're going to select up to face. All right, and with that inside that him face selected, it'll preview it, what the feature will do, and we can see that the dog ear is getting cut out. So we'll confirm that extrude. And so we have a sketch and an extrude that's unnamed. So we'll go back in and rename these, but you can see that that him has its dog ear. Now, I went through and originally demonstrated different ways you could do this on each corner, but I think I'll just end the video here and let you explore maybe different ways, or just stick to this way if you're comfortable with it. Other features you may experiment with using is the use/project tool. You actually don't have to be inside the sketch to go to extrude. You can hit extrude and then select your sketch features that you want to extrude that way. And we also did a dog ear removal on the flat view, and that is something you may explore as one of your dog ear removals as well. And then, as I alluded to at the beginning of the video, there is a little bit of a time-saving trick you can utilize, so your steps are not so redundant. Although while we're in learning phase, redundancy is helpful.